It's Amber Bradley, your host for the unscripted side of LP. It's TalkLP podcast time.
3, 2, 1. 'Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it.
What's up, TalkLP News podcast fans? Amber Bradley back at you, your host. Super excited to welcome Javier Leal into the podcast hot seat, Vice President of Asset Protection and Security for Vallarta Supermarkets. What's up?
How are you, Bradley?
Good.
Amber, how are you doing?
I'm good. Okay, so I'm really excited to have you in the podcast hot seat, primarily because newest addition to the Apex Council, which we appreciate. Really excited to kind of meet with you and work on content and strategic vision for Apex. So super stoked about that. But it's not often, and this is like full on too much self-disclosure. Everyone's gonna be like, ooh, that my better half meets someone that goes, this guy's an innovator and he's brilliant. And so I was like, okay, because I hadn't talked to you that much. And so I was like, okay. And he said, you have got to get, number one, him on our Apex Council, but number two, do a podcast with Javier. And I was like, stoked. So welcome. I want you to start with kind of telling everybody about your background in LP. Obviously 28, you're a newbie at Vallarta, 28 years in, right? I think you probably know the ins and outs of the whole organization at this point, but start with like that piece of your career, because I think it's fascinating, like, you know, how you started at Vallarta and then working your way up to your current position as vice president.
Thank you, Amber. Well, before we get started, I appreciate the opportunity. It's an honor and a pleasure to contribute, to Apex and your conference. So it is an honor and I appreciate it so much. So my career started back. I didn't know it was going to be a career, but it started back in 1998. I was 16 years old. In summer break from high school, I went to apply to a Vallarta supermarket that was under construction in Canoga Park, California. And I just wanted a part-time. I just wanted a part-time for summer break. And, I got hired as a box boy. That's what we were called. Not courtesy clerks. We were box boys back then. And I got hired to work for summer break. Back then we were able to get a full-time job. Labor laws were not as strict. So I was able to actually stay and work full-time. My mother had 3 jobs at that time. For very many years, she had never had a day off. So I started working for summer break, but I started bringing money in, right? So I started helping with the rent and a couple other things. So I told my mother, you need to quit one of your jobs, right? And she said, no, absolutely not. I said, you're going to quit one of your jobs so you can have a day off. So she did. And I did not go back to school. So at that age, I made a decision that it was more important to help my mother with the rent so she have a day off, right? So I made Vallarta my full-time job. I started bagging groceries. I work in the produce department. I work in dairy, deli, grocery. I work in night crew as well for 1 year. But I always had an eye for thieves. I always had an eye for shoplifting, right? As I was fixing the dairy deli in the cooler, I would look out and I saw somebody suspicious and I saw them shoplifting all the time. So I kept telling the security officers and the store directors, that person's going to steal. That person just stole something. And they told me, Javier, why don't you just come and work for us? No. At that time, we have a third-party security guard company. And they kept asking me to come and work for them. Saying, no, I love to work for Vallarta. I don't want to leave. After they insisted a while, I asked him, would I be able to work in Vallarta if I work with you? And they said, absolutely, because Vallarta is our account. So they convinced me and I accepted to go work for, at that time, was Alpha Sierra Enforcement. And it was a third-party security guard company. So I worked for loss prevention as a detective for them. For 4 years, I moved up to supervisor and then manager, but still working for Vallarta Supermarkets. That was one of my conditions. I told them, I need to continue working here. I love it. But my first experience growing up in that company was that I was told I couldn't innovate I couldn't come up with ideas. I couldn't propose strategies
Mm.
because that was not our job. Our job was just to catch shoplifters and to provide a security service, and that was it. And I wasn't satisfied with that. So I give my 2 week notice. And I remember my last day, it was a Sunday. I was gonna clock out at 9 p.m. and our CEO and president, Enrique Gonzalez, walks in. By then, I have already developed a relationship. I have met a lot of the leadership in Vallarta. We only had 9 stores by the time, by the way, at that time.
And how many do
Uh,
you have now?
we have 69, 70 stores.
Yeah, cool.
Yes. So, a few minutes before I clocked out, he walks in, and then I thought I'd just say goodbye. I said, "Hey, you know what? I want to thank you for everything." And I said, "Why? What happened?" I said, "Well, today's my last day. I'm actually gonna leave pretty soon. Where are you going?" "Well, I don't know. I'm gonna apply somewhere else." And just said, "Is your phone number the same number? Is it yours or is it the company?" "No, it's mine." I said, like, "Okay, well, have a good day. Thank you, and best of luck." I went on. And a few days later, almost a week, he called me. He said, "Can you come to the office?" I was gonna start a new job at that time. So I called the person. I said, "Hey, my former employer said if I could come and talk to him." I said, "Okay, if I just start tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." So I come in on a Monday. They schedule me at 9 a.m. I show up to the office at 9 a.m. and 10 came by, 11, 12, lunchtime. Nobody will come to see me. The receptionist said, "Sorry, Javier, but Enrique said just hold on." Long story short, it was 6 p.m. Everybody had left the office. I'm
And you're
hungry and
still waiting there.
I'm still waiting, and I'm hungry. I didn't want to go to eat something because maybe I'll miss them.
Yeah.
And I'm pissed off, right?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell am I doing here still?
Yeah.
So our founder, Enrique Gonzalez Sr., walks in right about 6 p.m. And then some of the other ownership, Alfredo Gonzalez, and they asked me to come in at that time. And they say, we apologize. You had to wait a little bit, a little bit, 9 a.m. And, by now I'm very pissed off. I just want to hear what they have to say. And they say, "No, we just all wanted to be here together. And we wanted to, find out and know if you would like to work for us and start our in-house loss prevention department." I
Yeah.
was 19 years old, 20 years old at the time. So obviously my blood drop and my sugar rise and everything. And I said, sure. So at that time, at that age, I didn't see in myself what they saw in me,
Yeah.
and they believed in me. I doubted myself completely, but they did not. And that's how my career started in Vallarta. I started as loss prevention director, and it was a big challenge to accomplish many things. A few years later, I took over the security responsibilities as well. So I was contracting security guard companies and many other things, right?
Yeah.
Alarms and many things. But
Because they had
uh,
nothing. Like you had to build it from the ground up.
yes, they told me, "Javier, you are on your own. We sell groceries. We don't have any idea what security loss prevention is. You're gonna have to figure it out." And I did, but it took me a while. I went home every day and told my wife and my kids, "I'm gonna quit. I'm
Yeah.
not going back tomorrow."
Yeah.
For about 3 months, I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to take over everything at once,
Yeah.
and I had to start with one store only. So I had to educate myself. I took a few classes, courses, and we had to figure out how we're gonna pay this team, how payroll and insurance and a lot of things, right? But we had to start it from scratch. There
Yeah.
was nothing. So
Well, that's got to be a huge lesson in, when you said you had to educate yourself, is that, some of the lessons that you learned on the professional development side is probably early in your career, starting from scratch and really having to figure it out all by yourself.
absolutely, you're not gonna know everything, and you shouldn't expect to know everything, but you should just know people that know everything, and you should connect with people, and you will figure it out. And you're not going to figure out on your own. You have to trust that you have to reach out to people, and get educated, be open to be told you're wrong or you're not doing it right. So you just have to get out there. You can accomplish things on your own.
Well, that's interesting because sitting where you are now, especially in the same company, which I think is really cool, that's actually pretty rare these days when you think about loyalty to a brand or a company, um, especially in the loss prevention side of the house, because, it's like, what have you done for me lately? If shrink numbers are going up or whatever. But looking at, your life or leadership principles, when you think about managing change and being in the same company, which obviously could see a lot of growth from the one store to now almost 70 or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, that's a lot of growing pains in the same, and obviously you haven't been in the same role, kind of working your way up. But talk a little bit about that, like your leadership or life lessons that you've kind of lived by.
Yes, I think a lot of people make the mistake of managing people. People don't need to be managed. They need to be led. They need a leader, and they need to be empowered. So I don't manage people. I empower them. I lead them, right? And I just you know um, go on by a very simple rule: servant leadership. It's never has been, and it's not about me. It's about our people. If you put that principle in front of you in everything you do, you're going to be very successful, and you have to do it genuinely. You have to truly care for your people and put in beyond you, or first, right? So I think that's one of the principles that I grew up, um, knowing because of the leadership that I have here at Vallarta. It has always been about our people. And I adopted that leadership, and I embrace that leadership because it's in our culture. Anywhere you see, anywhere you turn in our organization, that's how we go on by our business, doing our business. We lead by example, and we put our people first. So I think that's very important. When you do that in every decision you make, every policy, every procedure, any decision you make, if you people put your people first, you're gonna be in the right path.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you think about, sometimes you see these companies that have like this corporate office and it's kind of like this ivory tower where they create policies and procedures, but don't really think about how it is going to be executed, like by the frontline worker. Um, Thinking about that principle, and obviously we have all kinds of levels that listen to the podcast, whether they're VPs or up and coming, where they're wanting to sit in your seat one day. Like, what are some career advice things that you would provide for people? I mean, obviously having worked your way up from a box boy, I mean, it's like the American dream. That's like a perfect kind of story into a vice president at a company. So what advice would you give the youngins coming up?
I made a lot of mistakes, right? And mistakes are not necessarily bad. If you're not making mistakes, you're not even trying. You have to take risks, right? But you have to support, if you have a vision and you believe in it, you have to support it with data analytics. Back then, when we started, there was not much of that, but now we have all the technology. So you have to support your vision, your idea, your proposal with data analytics and case studies, right? So that your idea is sustainable, and always think about the company's strategy as part of anything you do, because if it's not in line with your company's strategy, it might not be sustainable. It's not only about you or your department. You have to make sure that whatever ideas you have, whatever vision you have, goes in line with the strategy of your company. And in most cases, if it's supported by documentation or data in case studies, your company will move on with it because it's in line with their strategy. So I think that's one of my advices is anything that you think of, make sure it's supported and backed up with evidence.
That's an interesting point because I was thinking about this example as you were talking. Like, how some, and I don't know any of these, maybe, that LP executives or executives would be like, oh, you know what? We're going to lock up all of our whatever, HBC, razors, whatever. We're just going to lock it up. And then that way, we won't lose any. Knowing that, or maybe they didn't know and should have known that maybe their operations side of the house is like completely against something like that, right? I mean, I was thinking about this example because it seems like it would ring true with what you're saying. It's like if you don't know your culture or the people that make it tick on the operations side to be like, hey, they would never go for that, right? So if you're walking into like the C-suite and you already know like your VP of ops or whatever they are, was full on against locking something up, like maybe not the best idea to like go in and pitch something where unless you've done some pre-work. I mean, is that kind of the example you're talking about? Like you have to know your culture first and foremost, but also maybe the players within that you should partner with.
Yes, it's very easy to try to cover up or solve something by saying let's just lock everything up, right? But that's not the case. You can affect many things. You can affect customer experience. You can affect many things, so truly understand what the real problem is, because you might have an isolated problem. You might have a problem in one store, in one district, or one region, but not necessarily across your company. And sometimes we make a mistake of making decisions across your company because you react to an isolated problem. So you have to really dig into it. You have to understand. You have to live in the store. You have to spend time in your store to understand. And that way you could isolate the problem and say, you know what, we have a problem in this particular store. What other options do we have other than
Yeah.
locking it up? And if you have to lock it up because that's the only solution and the best solution, then go ahead and do it, but not across your organization. Do it where you have the problem and then analyze it and then revisit it and do it again. So that's one common mistake we make. And on top of that, sometimes we make a decision and forget about it. And it's like that for years. And you just leave it alone. Like, no, revisit it. Put yourself timelines, 6 months, 1 year. We got to revisit it again and reevaluate to see if
Yeah.
that's still what we need to do. So I think that's what I'm talking about. Understanding what the whole scope of your business is and your culture.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to revisit it. I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay. So looking at, obviously, there's so many things on a loss prevention executive's plate these days. What are you preparing for? We always say, grocery is probably one of the most complicated organizations to run because it's like the timelines are so short if between actually ruined or rotten product that you can't sell, are you marketing down? Like it's just massively complicated. So I'm wondering, are there specific things that you could talk about, right? I'm sure there's lots that you're planning for that you can't talk about, but to think like, oh, okay, these things are on our radar. Maybe it's grocery specific, maybe not for, upcoming. It's early 2026. I don't know how you can keep saying that it's almost March, but like what are some things that you're like, okay, these are things that are on my like whiteboard of things that we're working on.
Yes. So I think we're very in line with our strategy of our organization. And I think what I'm preparing for and what I'm preparing my team for is the growth of the organization and be able to support it, costing very minimal additional expense. And what I mean by that is that not necessarily when you open a store, and I'm speaking specifically for asset protection security, do you have to add more security guards? Do you have to add more asset protection team? You have to look in ways where you can support your organization strategy by taking on more stores without adding additional headcount, right? By using analytics, right? Understanding where is your problem. Do I have a problem in this area in this store that has to do with homeless? Then I need a physical security officer who will deter that or have them leave. But if I have a different problem which has to do with organized retail crime or theft, then I need someone who worked detective in or an investigator or auditor to attack that problem. But sometimes we just say that's a hot store. That's the store that has a problem. Let me add hours. Let me add personnel to. But you don't really know what your problem is. So if you strategically analyze what the problem is and you use your resources that you have where you need them the most, you could expand the coverage where strategically where you need it without adding any more headcount. So that's what I'm preparing. We're refining, we're analyzing how we operate to have exceptional operating standards so that we could expand our coverage without having to expand our headcount.
So are you thinking, and I'm sure this is the buzzword, everybody's like, oh, AI will do it, right? And so, doing a lot of research and a lot of interviews on this topic, a lot of people are like, okay, well, AI is not going to replace your job. However, some person that might know how to expand their skill set or expand their breadth of things they could do quickly with the AI skills might replace you. So are you guys looking at any of that, like from an AI perspective, to go, hey, maybe use of some of these tools might help expand that problem of being like, hey, look, we got to do more with less.
Yeah, absolutely. AI is unavoidable. It's gonna come. It's matter of how you use it. There has to be a balance. AI cannot do everything on their own, and we can do everything without AI. So we are trying to create a balance where we use technology to make our jobs more efficient and effective. That way, our department are sustainable and we are
Mhm.
able to cover more territory without having to increase our expense, which makes us more efficient
Mhm.
and a long-term sustainable department, if it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of people look at it like, oh gosh, it's just this huge topic that has like never-ending options. And you want to say, look, just start with analyzing reports that you're constantly analyzing, right? So, okay, that's interesting. Curious because you obviously have perfected your environment, meaning you understand the culture that you're in after being in it for so long. But what would you tell? I won't ask how old you are because I don't like it. I don't really care what people ask me. But the point is, how sitting in your seat today as a VP, like what would you tell your, I don't know, 20, mid 20-year-old self where you're like kind of into it. You've obviously just started building the program there at Vallarta. Like, what advice are you giving him?
Yes, I will advise them not to have tunnel vision only on loss prevention, asset protection, and security. If that's your passion, if that's what you want to do, take on that. But make sure you tap into all the different departments. Don't limit yourself to the career only of asset protection and security, what the words or loss prevention, what the words say. Asset protection, loss prevention, security has evolved so much, and the possibilities are endless if you make it part of the company's strategy. So for those young leaders, I recommend and I suggest that they understand the company's strategy and that they become part of it. That will make them part of what the vision of the company is, and they will include them in every decision that is made. And that's how they're going to be able to grow not only in silos, right?
Mhm.
Avoid silos. You have to break them, and you have to be part of the strategy, and you have to be part of the entire organization. Being part of LP or security, it doesn't mean you have to limit yourself to only that. There's so many other areas you could contribute, so you have to keep your mind open to be able to contribute, provide value to the entire organization, not just to the department.
So it's almost like, say your operations folks are like, hey, we're looking into this solution or we're thinking about rolling out XYZ or whatever. It's almost like, hey, jump, see if you could be a part of the meeting and just, I would think, and I love to give advice, although I have never been in a corporate environment as long as you. I had to start my own thing because I don't like being told what to do so much. Anyway, too much disclosure, but I would think that if you're trying to invite yourself to break these silos, as you suggest, right? Like maybe not go into your first meeting and be like a know-it-all, right? I mean, we're like, well, I think it should be this. Like if you've been invited to um share, well, sit and learn about a new operations initiative, merchandising initiative, whatever, so you can learn about the things that you're saying, the culture of the company, kind of what everybody is doing, so you can really understand the operations side of it too. I mean, right? Like, don't go in there and act like a know-it-all.
It's the worst mistake you could do when you come in and say I. That word alone stops everything. You are gonna become uh, a ghost in that meeting, right? In that conference room. It's not about, as I mentioned earlier, it's not about me. It's about our people. So instead, say what is the best for the problem we have. What is the best for our team members? What's the best for the best solution for? So it's about the problem that you're trying to resolve. It's not about you or what I think or me. What are we trying to accomplish here? What are
Yeah.
the goals? What is the end result that we want to achieve? And you focus on that and you contribute to that. It's not my personal opinion. It's what is going to be the best solution that we could come up with to solve that problem. They're gonna forget you are in LP or security or asset protection. You become another partner. You become an executive. You become someone who is thinking a broader area. You're thinking outside the box, not just in your department.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's sometimes, people's key when they're trying to get invited. They finally do, right, into like maybe it's an operations meeting or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, hold your opinion maybe till like the third or fourth meeting. Okay. So I know you probably get pitched from solution providers a lot. Probably hard to answer your phone these days. But tell us, if you're a solution provider listening to this and they're like, well, first of all, good move, right? Because you're actually investing in, time to understand who you are, number one, and who Vallarta is. But what advice would you give some solution providers? Maybe it's pitching you, maybe not, just in general.
Yes. First of all, I am not your customer. I am not your client. You are not my rep, my representative. We are partners. That's my advice. If you look at me as your customer, I don't want to be your customer. I'm sorry. I am looking for partnerships. And if you become my partner, we both are going to be very successful. That's number one rule. Do not look at me as an account. I'm not your account. I want to be your partner. And the other advice I give them is before you contact any potential partner, understand their culture, understand their opportunities, and don't just Google them. Make some time to actually walk a store,
Yeah.
or walk a business, wherever business you're trying to provide solutions for, and understand the real potential and opportunities that they have. And lastly, don't just provide a return on investment analysis. Provide the proposition value. And another thing is coach and advise or work with your partners on how can we make it happen? How can we finance the technology or the solution we want to propose to bring to your organization? And you can ask yourself, like, what do you mean? Yes, it's very simple. Sometimes we're the first thing they ask, what is your budget like this year?
Oh,
Is in your
geez.
budget, any room for this? Is the wrong question. You know
Yeah.
why? Because my answer is I have no budget.
Yeah. What don't
Zero.
you hate that? I hate that question. What's your budget? You want to go, no, no, no. How much does it cost? Because magically, if my budget is $1 million, guess what it costs? $1 million. You want to go, okay. Like if you're I know I've turned this on its head. Now it's my advice time, but if you're out there still asking a customer or partner, as you say, what your budget is, like you're like 1980 called and they're asking you to come back because that's crazy.
Yes, I think if they understand what your culture, what your vision, what your strategy, where you want to be, they could come back and say, hey, what if we analyze this area and we could reduce cost in these areas? Maybe we could replace or use some of those savings for this technology, which will create a return on investment. So it's very important they really understand your business.
Yeah.
And lastly, I really hate when they tell you, here's a $250 gift card. If you have some time to meet, I
Oh
don't even take.
no.
Yeah. Or I'm gonna send lunch for the team. I want to be your partner. I don't need a
Yeah.
lunch. I don't need a gift card. I need your commitment that you're gonna be contributing to the organization, and we're gonna be together for a very long time, providing solutions to the industry or the community or our stores or company.
Yeah, I love your tip about go to the store. Like, especially if they, let's say they don't live in the area you guys serve. I get it. Okay. So if they're lucky enough to get a meeting, fly in time to like go to a store, spend some time in the store, buy something so you can figure out the experience of the store. Like it's weird, Javier, because some of this stuff is so elementary and you want to say a lot of people just still don't do it.
Yeah. And one of the things they say, I will fly in to come and meet with you at your corporate office and we could talk about this and that. Why don't you fly in and meet me at our store and we could walk our store?
Yeah.
Right? Right. I mean, what can you figure out behind a desk? Let's get
Yeah.
out there.
What your
Let's
budget is.
exactly right.
Okay.
Yes, but yeah, that's my advice on that.
All right. I got two. I love these wrap up questions. Best career advice, worst career advice. You can do both. Some people get a little squirrely with the worst, so I'm leaving it up to you, but go.
Stick to what you know best. You will be successful. I was
Is this
told that
best or
once.
worst?
That's the worst.
Okay, worst
Stick,
was stick to what you know best.
yes, because you will stick to what you know, you think you know best. You will never explore anything else. You're
Yeah.
stuck there. That's the worst advice I've ever heard, right? The best advice I've heard is don't wait for opportunities, create them.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
And I'll tell you something. Uh, I'm not here where I am because of luck. I'm not here where I am because I woke up one day and somebody told me, "Hey, we have an opportunity for you." Every single opportunity I had, I created it, and every opportunity I've created has also included my team. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you can't just be waiting for something. You have to get out there and get it if you really want it.
Yeah. And it's so annoying when people are like, oh, well, you just got lucky. It's like, no, no, no. What? So my tennis coach used to say, what is it? The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah, I know. You gotta create opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. If you weren't an LP, what was the career you missed out on?
Well, I think many of us in LP or security, I think we all have some type of curiosity or passion for law enforcement, right? And I always dreamed with I watched movies and I saw like the FBI and the Secret Service had this big room with TVs and like a intelligence center, right? So I would have loved to be in law enforcement, but I think not just any law enforcement. I would have led or lead a very fine group of individuals who really focus on protecting the community and serving the community with pride. But also, I would have created by now a state-of-the-art intelligence center to back that up as well. In 2019, that dream came true. We brought our security in-house. We since 2019 we have our own in-house security. We have our own training academy
Oh, neat.
as well. Yes, we train our own security guards based on our strategies, right? But also last year we opened our security operations center. So I have that wall with all the TVs now that I dream
Yeah.
of all the time. But everything comes. It doesn't come just because it comes. You have to make sure it's part of your company's strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I would have loved to be in law enforcement, I think, to answer
Yeah.
the question. And I feel that I am because of everything that we do now. So
Yeah.
I feel fulfilled and accomplished.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, last question. I know I wasn't even in the prep. I'm adding these. They're like lightning round. So, what is currently the last song that you played? Like if you picked up your phone and you did like music, what's the last song on there?
I was asked this a few weeks back, and I actually played it yesterday, not today. It was Eminem. It was that what is it, 8 Mile or the
Oh,
song?
nice.
I forgot what it's called, but you know why? Why I like that song in particular is because it's I think says something about opportunities come once in a lifetime, right?
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
reminds me that no, go get your opportunities. Don't
Yeah.
just wait for them to come once in a lifetime, right? So that's why I that song comes up
Nice.
with I was asked that. Yeah, thank
I
you.
like it. A little Eminem. I wouldn't have guessed that. Big
Yeah.
fan. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Javier, for stepping into Talk LP podcast hot seat. We appreciate it. And thanks everyone for listening.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Amber.
Thanks, guys. We're out.
Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.